This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Communication Committee. It is December 5th, 2024, 7 p.m. at the Town Hall Auditorium. This is the call to order, 7 p.m. Yep. We have 5 members here, so we should be good. Alyssa, I believe, is on her way, but closing up shop at the library. So I'm sure she'll come in a few minutes and interrupt us, which is not a problem. Starting with the first thing, our minutes from the from 11/14/2024.
Okay, I submitted some minutes. I haven't heard anything back, so any discussion on the minutes that were submitted? If not, then I would move we approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
So that would be what, 5-0?
Aye.
No, I was not present,
Allegra,
so
thank you.
I abstain. I wasn't present.
Oh, 4-0-1, okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
That's where I made a pithy comment.
Nobody's
That's
here
right.
for public comment. Did anybody see anything in the news or anything like that, public-wise?
I'm just going to take this moment to apologize to Mark. I was supposed to go through the committee list, and it just slipped through my brain. So, yeah.
We'll pause for a moment as other members join. Full committee tonight.
Like the hat, Charlotte. That's a good one.
Okay.
Okay, so we just went through the minutes, public comment, nothing came up. New letter of interest, Emily LaRoche. Not much of a letter of interest, but there it is. You can take a look at it. We already had a quick look at it. Emily's been in town for 2 years, no prior government experience, looking to just get involved, which is, really what most of us here.
Good. Yeah.
Not much else is in there, no resume or anything else attached, no cover letter, which, not required, so that's fine. I reached out to her, let her know that she can contact us about any questions or anything. She wasn't able to make it to tonight's meeting, so hopefully she'll be able to make it to, she said she should be able to make it to the 19th, if that's when we hold our next meeting. So we'll see her then. Standard protocol, come in for one meeting, talk with us, we'll ask a few questions, she'll ask a few questions, and if we're good to go, we'll vote on it and send it over to the town manager's office. Okay, moving on to the next hiring updates. Communication manager. Kate, former member of the communication committee, is officially announced, has officially accepted, and is waiting until the 16th to start working as our new communication manager. This is excellent news. She'll be able to hit the ground running. There's going to be a ton of work waiting for her. We're aware of departments have been reprimanded to stop contacting her because they've already started to reach out and see what things she can do.
Item of interest.
Okay.
So, which is, in my opinion, really goes to show that we need a communication manager if there's already a pile of work waiting for a role that didn't exist. It wasn't like we had to coerce people to figure out what to do. It was like, great, let's get going. The next one, Ed, I'll let you speak to this one, Ed and Lou.
Wait, you missed, did you do the BCTD manager? I missed it.
That's what we're talking about now.
Oh, thank you. Okay, sorry.
Same date, December 16th. We're hiring Esther, and I keep screwing up Giovacchi.
It's okay.
I have to learn how to pronounce her last name.
I've been pronouncing Kate's last name
Glovacki.
wrong the entire
There's
time.
no I.
So.
Glo. Glovacki.
We have some very good candidates on on the search committee. We narrowed it down to 2, selected Esther. She will be able to start on the same day as Kate, the 22nd.
16th.
16th, sorry. We feel very good about having her come in. Good background in terms of management and technical expertise. Perhaps a little bit stronger in the technical than on the management side, but we feel like she'll be a very good candidate. We did 2 interviews. The second interview, we took her around the building, showed her the setup, and we went down to BCTV. Lou showed her the ropes down there, what's involved with it, and yeah, she's coming on board. So we're really looking forward to that.
Can you tell us a little bit about her background? Sure.
After the meeting, I'll share. She put together quite an impressive packet, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
And I'll share that with everybody afterwards so you get an idea of who she is.
Okay.
But right now, she's essentially a camera operator for WWLP. But she
It's
has
buried in there, Mark, sorry.
she has a degree from Emerson. We felt a very strong candidate. I mean, her application, quite honestly, blew us away with what we saw.
It's actually much better digital because it's like clickable images and stuff like that drive to actual content.
Yeah, I'll send it.
What she can do,
Send it around.
I haven't done resume, as I said, in 50 years.
I mean, that was
Nice.
above everybody else by far.
Okay.
What we saw right
It's
there.
quite nice.
So, it showed that she made the effort to research us, look into information about us. She didn't just put together a standardized resume. She made one that was, customized for us, that sort of thing. So, but like I said, we had a pool of very good candidates. Charlotte, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to it, your feelings on her?
Feeling positive about it. I'm excited.
You need to put the microphone close to you, or I'll speak louder.
I'm feeling positive about it. I'm excited.
Thank you.
She was a good candidate. So we'll see. December 16th, she starts. Joanne and Steve are working on an onboarding process for her. With Kate, it's obviously going to be easier. She knows the players, and she will be attending our meeting on the 19th. So
That's gonna be my question.
Yep.
Kate will be there on the 19th as well.
Yep.
So full party with Emily, Kate, and Esther.
it'll be a busy night.
Any questions from anybody about that one? So we'll move on. Okay, excellent. Let's jump right into that communication plan. Mark, I had the opportunity to read through it. I got you a copy, but late, so sorry. Holidays and everything got the best of me, but I think the document was excellent. So feel free to take it away.
I don't have too much to say. I think, so Ed has raised some important points, and I hope that he'll share them with you now. I think with respect to the structure and the content, I certainly had questions. It turned out to be, as I think you saw, 41 pages or something like that. And a good part of it is the graphs that I put together. And there's a question about whether or not the communications plan is the right home for that analysis, I think. And Ed, in some comments to me, suggested, well, maybe it would be best if we took a good portion of that out, put it in a separate document. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, that might be a really good thing to do, because I think it goes beyond the communications plan and our objectives. And I think there are a number of other offices that might find it of use. In addition to what you have seen with respect to those graphs, I'm now doing another graph. And that is, it's been of concern to me that we don't know what our businesses are here. It's almost inconceivable that a town could not know what businesses it supports. So it turns out that we have 475 businesses here in Belchertown.
Sorry to interject, but I feel it is probably important to say the clerk's office does have a record.
I have been working with Terry
Okay.
back and forth.
Okay, so my understanding, rather, let me correct myself, is that the clerk's office should have a list of all registered business in town. So please.
Okay. Which they do.
Okay.
But what they don't have, so they have an Excel database, I think, which they do a good job of maintaining. What they don't have is, they don't have the, let's see, this isn't really true. So let me say something and then I'm going to contradict myself. So they don't have the occupation and they don't have the industry divided out. So if you said to me, for example, who are all the farmers in town, we couldn't easily pull out that information. The way they have occupation and industry is on one line with colons or semicolons or commas and so forth. But it's very difficult to break out. You couldn't produce the kind of list that I just mentioned using that information. And I said that to her. I said, are there fields that will allow us to sort, for example, by occupation or by industry? And they don't have them. So I've spent the last maybe 10 hours, maybe, trying to break out that listing. I don't have that listing because that listing is not on that Excel spreadsheet. It's only on the paper copy. So that makes it very difficult. So what I've had to do is to look at the name of the business, also use the web, try to find that business, and then try to find out what they really do. And I'm about 7/8 of the way through that now, but it took a long time. So, and some of them you can't even tell from the website because there's not enough information. Some don't have websites. So what I'm going to do is go back to Terry, sit down in the office and go through the paper copies for the 40 or so that I couldn't interpret. Anyway, that's the next graph that I'm doing. I think it's important that the town have this kind of information, and I will add that to the graphs that you've already seen. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but I did.
Well, I commend you for doing it. That's doesn't sound easy.
So I think, I agree with Ed. I think the right thing to do is to probably abstract most of that from the communication plan, put it in a separate document, make it available to the community, something like that. So that's one thing.
And I think the advantage of that too is that if it's a standalone document, it can be updated on a different cycle and communications plan.
Absolutely.
So, and yeah, I mean, what you did was great work. It's great information that planning could use, recreation could use, everybody could use. And that's information you could probably publish now, versus waiting for the communications plan to come out.
Yes.
It's like, here you go, guys.
Yes.
Go to town, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think having it as a standalone would be, I think, a good way to go.
Terrific. So then another issue that Ed and I have discussed back and forth is that, and you chime in on top of that. So how many of you know the Myers-Briggs personality inventory? Okay.
Curious where this is going. With that.
I've heard it mentioned.
Yes, yeah, taking the test, yeah.
All right. So it's really interesting, and everyone should take it, I think. And if you have a management consultant, it's the first thing they'll do. But anyway, Ed and I are at the extreme opposite ends of one scale.
That makes sense.
Which is great. I mean, if you can have that on a committee, that's what you
And guess
want.
who's stuck in the middle?
That's where I actually always measured. Yeah, it was right in the middle.
So Ed is very much an S, and I'm very much an N. And what that means is Ed, he wants to get going. He wants to do the work. He wants to execute. And he can't wait to do that. And he's great at doing that. I am on the other end, I'm a planner. And so I have to see the overall picture. I have to understand, why are we doing this thing? I have to make sure that we've got the strategy down before we execute. So it's perfect. You want both of us on it. Well, I'm not sure you want me, but you want two people like us in personality on a committee. And it's really the best kind.
You enjoy frustrating Ed by saying, wait.
Well, he frustrates me.
By saying,
Anyway.
who needs a plan? Let's just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get on, let's get at this thing. So then I pointed out to Ed that he had been saying, well, we really shouldn't select our projects yet because we don't have the communications manager. And what we really want to do is go out with the communications manager to the various departments and committees and ask them, look, what are your communications issues first, right? So I think Ed and I both, I hope that we both agree with that now. So that's why the plans in the communication committee and in the communication plan are so truncated. It's why I didn't have a lot of text around them, because we just haven't, as a committee, we just haven't worked that out yet. We haven't discussed that. So anyway, those are two issues that Ed and I had good discussions back and forth about.
No, I mean, I agree. And also, kind of my feeling on it was I wanted to put something together for Kate to start with on the 16th, knowing that it's not a finished product. It's a work in progress, and it will always be a work in progress, what we're putting together here. Because as we're seeing, and we were just talking about, she's coming in with a lot of expectations and hopes from a lot of people in town to do stuff. And I think I know I'm forgetting, she's only part-time. She's only doing this 19 hours a week. So she's going to have to pick and choose what's a priority, is it more important to do this over that? She's going to ultimately own the website, so she's going to have that responsibility as well. She's going to have a lot on her plate for part-time. So what I was really hoping is that we could put together a document that, very short, truncated, and like I was telling Mark and Chris, an actionable communications plan. But also it's going to be very much up to her what she feels the priorities are. Now she comes in with a big advantage of already having been here with us, obviously. So she knows a lot of the players. She knows what's going on in town. She knows what's not going on in town, that needs to be done. So I'm kind of thinking that, yes, it's good that we're doing this. I think it's wonderful that we're doing this. And Mark, you've done a hell of a job. But I think also deferring a lot of this to her as well, saying, okay, what do you want us to work on? What would be the biggest benefit to you moving forward?
Her telling us what she wants to have.
Yes.
Okay.
Where do you feel the priorities are? And it's the sort of thing, if we're having this conversation with Esther, the new BCTV, I mean, she's going to sit there and go, I don't know. She's going to need a few months to learn, whereas Kate has that advantage. So I think, Mark's done a hell of a job in putting something together here. Yes, I come from an action background. I was in the fire service, so that's what I do. We're action oriented. So that's where I was coming from. And somehow I think out of this, we have the best of both worlds in terms of the more in-depth planning, but also a more truncated, okay, this is, here's your checklist, here's your 2, 3, 4-page communications plan to get you started. Again, knowing that it's all cast and putty. It's all subject to change sort of thing.
It gives her ideas that she may or may not have thought of. It gives her things to look at and spark in her own head. So it's still a good idea.
Yeah. And maybe it evolves into a smaller working group of Kate, Mark, me, and whoever else to work on the more details, flesh them out. I don't know. I mean, to me, I think we, leave a lot up to Kate to guide us into what she needs, because it would be silly for us to create something that she doesn't need or want,
Am I right, though? She's also part-time and not forever. She's here for a limited amount of time, right? Unless they come up with some money for her.
Well, yeah, they have to come up with funding in the new budget.
Yeah.
But Steve felt confident that he could find that money going forward. So we should treat her as if.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah. But she's guaranteed X amount of ARPA money at this stage of the game.
Yes.
And then in the new budget. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know how it is once a position's there, and like Chris was just saying, look at the demand for her services already. So I think it's going to be the sort of thing where the rest of the town's not going to say, oh man, what are we spending money on? I think the rest of the town's going to say, thank God that we got somebody to do this stuff.
So I have a question about what Ed said, and it is the basic question, and that is, who determines communication strategy for the town? What are we doing here? What is our committee doing? And if we're not talking about strategy, what are we talking about? So I would say, I had a different vision for this new position. My vision was she'll be the executor. She will do the tactical work. She'll do the tactical plan, but that we would do a lot of the strategic thinking. So that's where Ed and I had some dissonance, and we went back and forth on this. It's a good discussion, but I open this to the committee. Who determines communication strategy for the town? And if it's not us, then who's doing that?
Allegra has something she wants to say.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, no, I'm just listening to this conversation. I think I was thinking of that question before you just mentioned it, Mark. And I think one of the things that makes it in a good way confusing is because Kate was on the committee. So it's so easy to trust her with this compared to if it were somebody who maybe hadn't been as familiar with the work of the committee before. I think we might think about it a little differently. But assuming that this is like, if we're thinking about it in terms of like, you know, I don't want to say bureaucratically, that makes it sound bad, but in terms of, yeah, where the strategic vision should come from, it does make sense to me that it would come from the kind of the committee, the town, and then it's executed by the staff that carry it out, that been hired to do these things. So, but of course, like saying that, I also acknowledge that Kate would be really central to forming it because she's very much part of the committee, has been and will continue to be. So that's just the way it seems like there's overlapping ways to think about where the strategy comes from.
I mean, something to keep in mind too is that she's an employee who reports to Steve, not us.
Well, and I was going to say, what's the planning board model? And that, because you have Doug, is Doug the executor and you guys were the planners?
Pretty much, we were the planners.
So that's the model you were thinking of then?
Although, having said that, they also relied on outside committees. So for example, a group of us wrote the new bylaw for the town, the solar bylaw for the town.
Okay.
And then they approved it, and Doug made some corrections, actually wrote the final language. He's the implementer,
Okay.
I would say.
But that's kind of how you're seeing Kate in your brain, I think, right now.
I think so. That's the way I viewed it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think Ed has a different perspective. And Allegra also to some extent.
Part of Kate's responsibilities does include reporting back to the communication committee of progress that she's made since previous meetings. Yes, she is managed by the town manager, does whatever the town manager says, but I think that there is some reporting structure to the committee. So I have to agree with what Allegra said is that, we are the ones that are pointing out all the different problems within town and saying that we need to tackle all these things. We think these are priorities and these are going to, influence the residents and help the staff the most. And then Kate is going to spend those 19 hours a week getting that done.
And choosing the one she can work on or wants to work on.
To some extent, yeah. I mean, like, we trust Kate, right? Like, she was part of the group before. I absolutely value her opinion on these things. And I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of, give and take and just deciding as a group of what is going to happen next, and discussions around stuff. But I think, end of the day, those 19 hours a week have to go towards making these things happen. Okay. It's not to say that we'll stop working as a communication committee, that we'll no longer have projects. We'll just get together every 2 weeks and tell somebody what to do. I think it's going to be that, we're going to essentially say these are the things that we just don't have the authority or the workload to do. But the higher level stuff we can take care of, the social media policies, things like that. We can still work on those things. We can still advise on those things. And until she's full time, or she or somebody else, wherever that ends up going, is full time, I think that's sort of going to be the plan. Is that we sort of dictate, but still take on some of that work.
So let me be more specific about this so that
Yeah.
we actually get right to the heart of the matter about who's doing what. So who is going to develop the projects in this? So what I did was just list them essentially. Who is going to develop that project? Who is actually going to determine the strategy that and the content of the problem correctly? What I worry about and what I've seen in strategic planning and running strategic planning as often as I have, I've seen people get very excited at the beginning of the beginning of the strategic planning process. A little bit like Ed, they can't wait to go. They want to go. They want to change something, and that's terrific. But what often happens is a great solution to a non-problem or to the wrong problem because it's their solution. This is what they want to see happen. So instead of developing the strategy appropriately, instead of really thinking very hard about that problem, exactly what do we want to solve here? Exactly what do we want to change? And why do we want to change it? What is the problem that is causing us to want to change something? And groups often just don't spend enough time on that. And so he wants to get going. I understand that. I want to stop, and I want to not stop exactly, but I want to ensure that we have thoroughly investigated and developed these issues that have to be addressed.
Well, I think, and again, this is just what my picture in my mind on this stuff, and I welcome anybody else to chime in with whatever what they're thinking. We have a list of projects that we're aware of on the communication plan, right? We did a great job listing a whole bunch of things from emergency communications plans to, the town hall meetings, making sure that those are handled correctly and enhanced so that there's more people. I would say it's on us to say, listen, we're not going to have a town hall for another 6 months. So do we need to do the planning on that stuff right now? No. Town meeting, yeah. So that's not a priority right now. But making sure that that larger public functions like the healthcare, nicotine-free generation stuff is going to need larger coverage. It's going to need a better decision on how to run the rooms and things like that. And we should produce a model that committees need to follow, right? So that's a project that needs to be done. We don't necessarily know all the players involved in those kinds of things because we're not here 9 to 5 and talking to all the different departments and things like that. So I see Kate as being that sort of liaison to go and start collecting, okay, who is going to be in charge of this kind of a project? Who are the key players? Where would there be budget? Identifying all of the different stuff that you said, what are the KPIs that we can think about and things like that you said in any of the strategic plans. She's got 2 weeks to figure that out, come back to us and say, all right, I figured all this out. How do we think we should move forward? Great. And then go back and do, or say, this is my recommendation on how to move forward, and then go back and do it. Right. And if it is a low hanging fruit kind of project, if she talks to 1 or 2 people and they're like, oh, we just have to do this, X, Y, or Z, then she can come back with that report and say, we essentially solved it, right? But I think that's going to have to be her because we're not, other than Ed, we're not going into these offices during the day and talking to everybody and figuring those things out and trying to understand how to solve the problem then and there.
I mean, keep in mind, there are things, the planning process is great, and I don't diss the planning process. I know it has value, but there are things that she's going to have to do immediately. She's going to have to jump on hybrid meetings immediately. That's not something that we can spend a lot of time planning, that's something that does need to start to be fixed quickly. The Board of Health meeting, I think, is a good example. This stuff is going to come up without notice. How are we going to do this and manage this so it's a success? We can't necessarily stop and plan. Now, it's good to have a long-range plan. Okay. Going forward, if you're going to have a Javish Brook project, you got to bring us into the loop early and all that sort of stuff, things like that. But also, okay, Board of Health is happening next week. What do we do? Who are the players? How do we make sure this works successfully? And, stuff like that's getting addressed just because we have the contacts and the wherewithal to bring that up to people like Andrea.
You know, I just want to interrupt. This is what I did for 30 years. It's called a production stage manager. He calls up the players and finds out what they need and develops a plan, has meetings with them so that they agree to the concept, i.e. the table will be this way, we'll have these microphones, the cameras will be here. But that's a full-time job for somebody, again. And we're not going to have that.
I mean, I've spent hours, not a lot of hours, but hours working with Board of Health on their meeting.
Yeah. And
know,
you acted as
and-
production staff. You got the players together in the room, you asked them the questions,
Right.
and they gave them your thoughts, and you developed a plan.
And part of that is convincing them too, that it is an issue, you know, and I might be wrong. I might be totally wrong.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Too many times we've walked into meetings as BCTV, and the people are sitting around trying to figure out what they have to do and where the chairs are going to go, and do we need microphones? Who's going to talk first? Is it going to be online? I don't know. Let's find out. None of that stuff is. As an old stage manager, it bugs the crap out of me, and I know it just means you have to come in early and think about it before you do the meeting, and most committees aren't doing that.
And so, I mean, my point is that's stuff that she's going to have to address quickly, right off the bat, you know, managing the website, you know, just the Facebook page alone. And again, I keep coming back to, she's got 19 hours a week. So how much of that can she devote to strategic planning versus putting out the brush fires, you know, on a regular basis?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I don't think that I don't look at her being hired as the end of our responsibilities for certain projects,
No.
including the communication plan, right? It is a great step forward. It is what 2 months ago, we never thought this was going to happen within this year or the next, right? So it is excellent that we have somebody on the inside and that is somebody we know, but we have to continue doing what we're doing, the newsletter, the social media stuff when it comes up, this communication plan, working with Kate. I think it's stuff that we're all going to have to continue to work on. And that's why I think that even my suggestion of like getting some of those action plans together isn't a bad idea for us to start doing already, you know, and maybe it's the bigger ones, maybe it's the low hanging fruit that when Kate walks in, it's like, here you go. These are the stuff that you can just get done now. But that's all still going to have to happen. So, there's a lot. Any other questions? Any other?
So would the next step forward for this be, okay, we have Kate in the room. We kind of have the same conversation with Kate in the room.
That's right.
And say, okay, these are our thoughts, you know, and where do you want to go with it? And
Well, do we want to hold for 2 weeks before she is in the room?
that's what I mean, yeah. I mean, we can keep moving forward, I think, successfully on putting, again, a draft together for her to use and work from. But I think, you know, I mean, Kate's understanding too of the position might not be what we think it is right now, you know, for all I know. I don't think so, but,
Right.
you know.
Sounds like we'll cross the T's, dot the I's with what we have so far. Make sure it's nice and clean, and see what she thinks about it. I guess it'll be waiting on her desk on the 16th or something.
Does she have an office yet?
Steve's,
Still working?
she'll work out of Steve's office.
Oh, okay.
And then when IT is going to be moving to the old EMS building,
Yep.
she'll be over there.
So she'll take in the rec room that they have at the end.
I've never been in the EMS building, so I don't know what they have there.
Oh, no. Right now, IT's in the rec department.
No, IT is moving to the EMS building.
And she's moving to the
And
EMS.
she- and she's moving to the EMS building.
Got it. Thank you.
The IT rec will get the rest, IT back. That space they will get back
Okay.
as part of their thing. So, but that's all dependent on, they're renovating the upstairs of the fire station to be a bunk room.
Mm.
And so they'll move out of EMS to the bunk room, and then IT and Kate will move into the EMS building.
They're still in rough plumbing and rough electrical over there, so that's a ways out.
So, but that's the plan. That's the plan. But for now, she'll be working out of Steve's office.
All kinds of good information.
All right, we got a plan forward. Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And right back around to you, Mark. Town social media. I think that we're near the end, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
You sent it up, it's gone off to the lawyer again, right?
It went to the lawyer a second time,
Yeah.
and the attorney had, I think, 4 suggestions that were trivial. I accepted them, made some punctuation edits, and sent it back to Steve about 3 days ago.
Okay.
And then today he said, "Do you have the original markup copy?" And I don't, because I accepted all those changes that the attorney had suggested. So anyway, we're back and forth, but we're right at the end of this process.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Town newsletter.
So we've been doing a lot of updating, mainly Allegra. I haven't had tons of time.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of echo from Allegra.
She's muted now.
Okay.
I've only had a couple minutes to look at her slideshow she's put together because I was working, but she's really taken this on. I've kind of taken the back seat because I've been really busy lately, but it's looking really good. Do you want to start it?
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, both of us have been really busy with end of term sort of stuff, and just a personal update that like I'm really through some major deadlines by the 12th. So after that, I'll have a lot more time, and Alyssa will keep pushing it forward. I know you're going to have finals and all that stuff, or end of semester things. But we did make some progress, and we have a few slides we can share. It should only take 5 or 10 minutes to run through it. So I think I just got prompted to share my screen. So let me do that. Here we go. And then you guys tell me if it's kind of legible enough, if it's big enough over there. So let me share this. So when the browser automatically shares your audio tab. Okay. Dismiss. So you can see that.
Change it under.
Is that okay for you? Or do we want to go bigger?
We can live with it.
Okay.
It's a little bigger there, right? That's a little bigger, right?
Everyone,
Yeah.
so we don't get the.
Oh
slide.
yeah, let me do that. There we go. Okay, we're good on our end.
Okay, great. So just to start off, so again, we just have a couple quick things. It's mostly technical stuff, and to give you a preview of some of the next issues that we're tackling with implementing this. So we've redone the design, and so we're going to show that to you. Alyssa's going to show that in a second, and then I'll just walk through some of the implementation stuff we're figuring out. So I will move the slides through, Alyssa, but I'm going to mute myself, and then if you need me to jump in, I'll jump in.
Okay, sounds good. So she's made like multiple options for different looks and how so for this one, it's the town manager and like the header. There was 2 options. We chose this one depending on what you guys think. This is hopefully what we'll stick with, but it's up to you guys. So this would be like the beginning of it. I don't know what else to say,
Can we
Allegra.
get hard copy of this?
Yeah, we can print it out, absolutely.
Or else just email the slide
Yeah.
packet to us so that
Yeah,
we can.
we
look
can
at
do
it.
that, right,
Okay.
Allegra?
I think even just
Yeah.
email the test to everybody.
Yeah, we can do
I
that.
definitely, yeah, I definitely can do that. And yeah, Alyssa, I had put some notes in the margin here, but just to run through the ones on this first slide, this is like this is a screenshot of what the newsletter would look like in your inbox. The first part of it, you would scroll down, there would be more underneath it. And so we were just pointing out a few features here that Alyssa and I worked on together in terms of what we thought looked the best. So we met to sort of see, and we were focusing on what was kind of like just pretty accessible in terms of colors, but also like a nice design. And so this header image replaces, I mean, we could show you the previous one, but this one is much more legible. It would be the same for every month. It would look exactly the same. The color scheme that we chose follows the colors. We match them to the colors on belchertown.org website. And also, again, the fonts and colors were kind of chosen to be the most legible. And then the town clerk, we looked at this together too, the town clerk updates. We thought this could be like a recurring section of the newsletter that would be designed. We're just showing you some of the design aspects. So this one would, instead of just being like the previous two sections, just a white background, this one would have, this would stand out, and it has, it's a little hard to see on purpose because we want the text to be very legible, but in the background is a picture of the town hall and it's tinted with one of the color themes. So we can definitely we will definitely send it to everyone. And if you have feedback on the look and the feel, please send it, because any of this is tweakable, but this is just kind of what we thought might look good and be very friendly to a reader. And so just a couple more things that we did is, I created like a few templates of sections. So if we want a section that just has one photo, if we want a section that has a few photos, just so that the design can be, you know, appealing and varied between different types of content. So overall, the newsletter would look interesting and not just like text after text after text. Again, all of this can be revised, but this is what the footer looks like right now, which is one of the main elements that was missing from the first version of our design. And just a heads up to Chris, who gave us a lot of like the feedback on what sort of technical implementation standards we should follow. I think most of them we hit, but we would definitely love your like close review of this design. I know there's like something about headers that I might not be following according to like what the WW3 consortium standard is for that. So that's kind of the look and feel of it right now.
I missed the name of the person who gave you that helped you out.
It's me.
This guy.
Oh,
Chris. Yeah. Yeah. Whose day job is to review these things, right? So, so it's excellent. And then, so just and just to let everyone know, this is fully mobile compatible. And so this design also, this is like a preview of what it would look like on your cell phone as you're scrolling through. And the platform makes it very easy to adjust the content to make sure it's very readable on a mobile device, which obviously a lot of people access their email on mobile. I personally hate accessing my email on mobile. Such an old person. So, and then I'll just continue, if that's all right, to run through the rest of the implementation stuff. A few technical details here. We are in the process of designing a sign-up form that would be embedded on the belchertown.org website. So if you go to, we have to maybe talk with you guys about where to put it on the website. We don't know if we'd want it on the homepage somewhere or some other place, but somewhere on the webpage, a place to put this little form that's on the right side of the screen here, where folks could see that they can type in their email to sign up for the newsletter. And the way this form is implemented right now is to follow all of the like best practices of letting people know what's happening with their data. And so that's why you see all the fine text about where exactly your email address is going, what company is using this. I think we don't legally have to do that, but I think it's like best practice. It is like required in Europe and a lot of other places. And so it's like best practice to incorporate that information. And another thing is that we will add a CAPTCHA, a box, something you have to check to indicate that you're not a robot, so that this account does not receive a lot of spam signups. So another small implementation detail that came up previously, I believe, at a previous meeting, Chris, you asked if there could be a landing page, and actually the free account of Brevo, which is what we are using to design and implement this, and seems so far to be all we need, it does not give us any free landing pages. My sense is that we don't actually need a landing page because we have a website where we could design a page that is dedicated to the newsletter. And so maybe we can talk more about how to do that. That's like one of the next steps is is how to do that. But it would just involve creating another page on our belchertown.org website that's dedicated to the newsletter. Um, and so just to briefly
Can you
run
hold,
through, oh, sure.
can you
Yeah.
hold for just a second, Allegra?
Yeah.
And I missed the last meeting, so maybe you already did cover this. Has there been a conversation on who can access the sign-up data within the town? You know,
I mean, who has access to the database itself?
I would assume that's whoever is running the account, and that would be it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, what if, I don't know, planning board comes to us and says, we want access to that data. Do we need to develop a policy over who can or who has to give permission?
Allegra, do we have, does this plan include like being able to see that data, or is this plan not that, the other plan that we looked into?
Oh no, we can definitely see who subscribes to the newsletter. So we will have a list of email addresses with names associated with them. And I think that, I mean, it's just really that basic information.
That's pretty standard.
And yeah. And but in terms of the question of who we would share it with, I do not know what the town's policy is with that. Right now, we could see that data as people who are managing the Brevo account. But I think there would have to be some other conversation about whether emails get exchanged from one unit to the other within towns of town residents.
Best practice form say.
I don't know what the best practice, but to me, at least in the very beginning, I think it should be a policy, does not get shared with anybody without somebody like Steve Williams' permission or something like that, So we can safely say to people, like, if you sign up, we're not sharing your data with any, we're holding within this vault, until we can get a chance to figure it out.
Well,
that,
it stays with the organization, and the organization is the town.
Right, but within the town, again, what if planning wants access to it, or conservation, or health?
I would be annoyed, personally.
I would too. And once it goes and once they get it, then there's no calling it back.
Yeah.
So I think in the very beginning, at least, we just say, no, it doesn't go anywhere to anyone until we figure out, until we figure this out. Because I wouldn't want that to hold up your rollout of it.
Could we use like the number, like the amount of number that people are subscribing to, but not like who they are?
Yeah, I think we could use the metadata.
Okay.
Say, 500 people signed up,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. We're not going to say that Alyssa and Charlotte and Lou signed up. But like I said, I don't want that to hold up what you're doing, but I think it's something we just should put a lid on until we do figure it out.
Right, because they're sharing your email to subscribe to that, and unless it says you're subscribing to this, and also all these other people will have access to that email, like that's not what they're putting their email in for.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that we can be clear, once people sign up, they will get a confirmation email, and we can be very clear that they have signed up for the newsletter and they will receive the newsletter, and it should come about once a month, and that they're not going to be getting a bunch of additional, they're not going to be getting anything else by signing up for this account, unless we ask their permission or something. But yeah, I don't think it would hinder anything, but it might be a good point to make it clear that folks are not going to be harassed by signing up for this one email service.
And I think that'll help people sign up, because if we don't say that, then they're not going to. But if we do say that, I think, okay, well, I feel safer doing that.
Do we know how the library handles their policy or their email lists?
No, I could find out.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a great idea.
That'd be good.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be great to know.
Okay, sorry.
Oh no, it's a great point. Yeah, and I think the form I had, this is built on a template that they suggest, but I had edited it to. I think it's always very good, especially because not everybody has the same is as familiar with email newsletters as other folks, and so you might have people signing up not exactly knowing even how to follow simple instructions like a sign up form. So I modified this to be very clear, and this sign up area could also be very clear on exactly what they're signing up for, so we could incorporate that language, which I agree. I think it would encourage people to sign up, because I'm sure a lot of people are wary to just give their emails out on a website. I will just briefly run through some of the things that we are figuring out. So this is not necessarily an order, but we're hoping over the next month or so, which I know includes holidays, but over the next month or so, to just confirm that what we have designed is very accessible and implemented correctly. And so we'll get a little more feedback from Chris, but also anybody else who might have comments. So we'll send the email so you can see it. And then we have to think a little bit more about how to integrate it with the website. So where on the website it should go. And I think we'll bring that back to the committee to confirm that in the future. But maybe we'll have some first conversations with Ed and Chris, since you guys are managing the website, about where you think it would go, since you have like probably the most bird's eye view of what the website looks like. And then one issue is that we had conceived of the rollout as people start signing up for the website, for the newsletter, and within a couple days they get a welcome issue. And the welcome issue is different than a regular issue. It is an issue that says, welcome to the newsletter. Here are some introductions from folks around town, and we have a few introductions from some of the departments. And so one technical issue is just figuring out, I just want to make sure that this platform allows us to do that. Like, you sign up and then a couple days later you receive a specific issue. And so there's an automation section of Brevo where I believe you can do this, but it was a little buggy when I was looking at it. So I just have to kind of make sure it works. And then technical things aside, we need to do some sort of process work. And so one is going back to Steve, having him reach out again to departments, and also us reaching out to other groups like committees and other groups in town to see if they want to contribute to the welcome issue. And then once we have enough content for the welcome issue, which can grow as we get more content, but we can have a version of it that we can start sending out, which would allow us to allow people to sign up so that they get that welcome issue after they sign up. I was thinking we wouldn't let folks sign up until we have the welcome issue ready that we can send them. But I do think that can happen pretty quickly. And then the first real issue that wouldn't be this welcome issue, but would have like kind of routine updates from whatever sections of town have a monthly update that month, early 2025. Maybe not January, because the holidays might make a January rollout difficult, but February, we could maybe do that. So sorry for the quick, hastily going through that, but I think it's a little fuzzy, so I didn't want to spend too much time on the details. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us.
Who's going to be the editor of the newsletter? Is that going to be Kate?
I think that's going to be Allegra for now, and then we'll talk about handing it over in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, well, if I can suggest, it'll be Allegra and Alyssa. I think it could be both of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have, and it is something that, we hope to kind of figure out our process so that if we want to hand it over, if Kate wants to take it from us or wants to be another editor on it, she certainly can. But like everyone has said, like, her plate is going to be full, so we want to make sure this can kind of be running on its own. And Alyssa and I have both confirmed that we can access it. So
right.
Again, even though we have this free account, we can both see the content easily and work on it together, which is good. So we could both we will develop a work protocol between us to make sure we check things on time and have them edited and stuff like that.
So who gives the yes, this is legit to print? Is that something that
the editor? I would, Alyssa, Allegra, and Kate.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure you guys approve it and then run it by the select board and Steve, and then it'll be sent out.
Every issue?
I don't think every issue, but I think the first one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think, you don't want that for every issue, because
I don't think it's for every issue.
You'd never get one out the door.
Right.
Yeah, I think if there's any, I think Alyssa and I, just from being in our meetings so far with all of you, since we're relatively new members of the committee, but I know we've talked, Alyssa, about some of the issues have come up about things that we don't do, like we don't advertise things, we don't try to sell things. We kind of know what some basic rules are, but if there's anything that we're not sure about, we would definitely run it by the committee. Otherwise, I think it'll be pretty clear that, we have models in mind of what these updates are. So um, I don't think it'll be too tough to make those editorial decisions. But if we find that we're running into difficulties or points of uncertainty, we would definitely run them by you.
Does Breville archive the newsletters? Would we be able to access past newsletters?
Yeah, I do believe there is a URL that would not expire. But I was also thinking that the way that that the newsletter will have some presence on our website, on the belchertown.org website, like belchertown.org/newsletter or something. And that page, we could create our own archive of past issues. We have seen Longmeadow, I believe. They just did this in a very simple way by PDFing the constant contact emails and putting the archive on the website. There might be a better way to do that, but we could integrate past issues on our website.
I mean, that's essentially what the agendas are. They're kind of an archive. I mean, okay.
Yeah, and that's what I would suggest, is just get PDFs, because we can get PDFs that are accessible and, have all the links and everything like that. And it's as easy as just taking the copy that you've mailed to yourself and clicking print and saying print to PDF. And then you have the full version. So it's real easy. You just, and if that's something that, like, maybe that's my responsibility, is every time I get the newsletter, I do that and I put it on the town website under whatever page it's supposed to be on. So that would be really easy to do it that way. And then we'd have an archive on our site that is official, and people can go there at any time to see it.
Right.
Just another aside. So your definition of editor is not somebody who just reads for grammatical errors, but is also proofing content and improving content. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would also be happy to be part of the workflow of getting it on the website. I know I have a little bit of access to the behind the scenes of the website that I haven't really touched, but I'd be happy to figure out what I need to do to make things work.
Excellent.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great, and that might even be easier if you're the one that's hitting send, and then you just immediately take a copy and put it online as well. That could be just as easy. So, I will say I have a couple of comments, and I have been meaning to email you, but never did. So apologize on that one. I'd love to see what links look like, because I don't think you have any in here until you get to the footer. But a link should always be colored differently, underlined, and potentially even bold. Definitely the first two underlined and colored differently. That way people can tell that it is a link and it's different from regular text. So if they're using a screen reader, or not screen reader, but assistive technology of any kind, they're aware of that. Also, I will give you semantic headers, and I'll send you information about that, because that is very important to get the correct header versions in there. And it's basically like whenever you're using titles and things, you want to make sure that there is like a 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of structure to websites that is important for screen readers. The only other thing that I wanted to say is that Town of Belchertown newsletter is very bland. We should come up with a real name for this, right? We should go all the way and give it something, make it more than just the newsletter.
Yeah, I agree. I just didn't know if that had anything to do with like branding or anything.
That's a great question. Yes and no. Branding is up in the air right now, so if you pick something, you're in.
Okay.
Just as long as it's not
Take advantage.
Yeah.
Brooktown News.
Well, actually, Yeah, let me just go up to where you can see yeah, we have Town of Belchertown newsletter, and we had a conversation actually about, originally we had the Belchertown newsletter, and there seemed to be something a little like, I don't know if cheesy or hokey. I don't know exactly what the right word is, but the Belchertown newsletter, it seemed a little, it is also bland, of course, but there was something about the rhythm of it that seemed a little cheesy or something. Um, One of the things Mark, a while back, had said, you had given us the AI suggestion of what the content of a Belchertown newsletter would be. And it had a great suggestion, I thought, which is the Belchertown Bulletin, because alliteration, I mean, who doesn't want alliteration? Again, it's not necessarily any less bland, but the alliteration adds something to it, perhaps. The reason I would not suggest the Belchertown Bulletin, though, is because we already got set up with newsletter at belchertown.org as our email address. So I think it would be great to have newsletter somewhere in the name of the thing. But you are correct. We have seen like the Pelham, it's the Pelham Slate. Like they have, some of them they name their newsletters. Most of the newsletters we have looked at have been bland. It has been the town manager's newsletter of Longmeadow or of, whatever town. But I think it's a good idea to brainstorm. If anybody has any suggestions now, it could also be something we ask Steve if he has suggestions.
Belchertown carriage, that's stupid, but I'm just kind of thinking.
I was thinking the Belchertown beat to keep that alliteration in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And don't get hung up just because you have newsletter at belchertown.org.
Yeah, I would
know,
keep that.
I know we had to pull teeth to get that, but we can get you a new email address. We can do that.
And we could keep that too. I mean, like my work one is for the newsletter. It's hello at and help at, right? So you get the email from hello, and then if you want to respond, it goes to help. It doesn't change the name of the company email name, which is pitch reviews. So like, it's fine. You can keep it as a newsletter, and that would be fine.
Any other name suggestions?
Oh, back to the AI suggestion. ChatGPT does a great job of coming up with some really clever ideas for names as well. So
Okay.
maybe throw it through there and see what comes up.
Courier. There you go.
But the carriage is a historical icon of Belchertown. We could do something with that. Maybe look into some of the Belchertown history, and
Yeah, that's a good idea.
or even easier, tell AI to look into the Belchertown history and see what it comes up with. It'll do it.
That's a great idea. I know we have a couple local historians we could maybe ask. Oh, sorry.
And pansies, posies.
Oh, yes.
Pansies.
Was it
No, we're not the Belchertown Pansies.
It was
No,
Pansy-
but
it was
with Dwight
Pansy- it was
Village?
Pansy Park, yeah.
Pansy Park,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dwight, yeah.
That's it.
Pansy Park public announcement.
All right.
Belchertown Bulletin,
what's-
Belchertown Buzz, Belchertown Beat, Belchertown Post, Belchertown around Belchertown.
It's not bad.
Now it kind of rhymes. Belchertown Voice.
You just went on the chat. You got it.
Isn't around B-Town?
Beacon. Sorry, around
Oh,
Belchertown.
no, thank you, Charlotte. Those are good. Yeah, we'll take a look at more, and I would we'll definitely bring them back for a vote. Ed, isn't Belchertown around B-Town? Is that what the segment is on?
That's a thing we have on the website. That's
Yeah.
no reason it can't be adopted by you guys. I mean, yeah, we can make changes. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, we would definitely want two different things to make sure it's not confusing. But
Right.
I think it's a great idea to have a name that sticks. So we'll think about it some more and run it by you all.
Yeah, and we've got time before the episode 1 comes out. So maybe we can kick it around to people we know or other people in town or whatever, and just see what people come up with. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do some brainstorming, that's for sure.
I wouldn't say go as far as like do a town survey,
Oh,
but
no.
like let's ask around, see what people come up with.
Yeah, just stand out Stop and Shop and ask people.
Yeah. Okay, cool. The other question I had, yes. You had mentioned that you've been messing around with the sign up form. Can you add extra buttons to that or extra checkboxes to that?
I believe so. What types of buttons or checkboxes would you add?
So just a regular checkbox that where people can sign up and say whether or not they allow the town to use their email address for other items and to communicate them for um, other purposes. Because that could be our workaround to that policy. That if they don't check it, right, by default it's empty, the box is empty, and therefore we will not share their email address outside of the newsletter. If they do check it, then we can share that email address outside of the newsletter.
That's a really
And if
good
that
idea.
is a custom tag or anything custom field that Brevo can allow for users, then we could segment users by who does have that tag or who doesn't have that tag, and then provide email addresses.
And there'd have to be an unsubscribe.
Well, so the newsletter will always have an unsubscribe for those kinds of things. But that is
For
that's that
that.
for
They have
that
they have to
yeah.
opt in. They have to opt
is
in.
I think it would be an
Yeah.
opt-in, but we
Right.
can't control the opt-out because it's for the town. So I don't know. That does you do bring up a point on that, but that could be an option for that. Is whether or not we can have that extra checkbox on the sign up.
Yeah, I just looking at it now because I have the tab open on my computer. You can't follow my screen, but you can add a checkbox. I just don't know what you can get the checkbox to do to you, if it can record that information for you or not, like whether they check it or not. So I just have to see how it works, but it's definitely an element that you can add, and you can specify what the content is that they're checking. So
Okay,
I will
excellent.
definitely look into it and see if we can do that, because I agree that would be a great way to figure out who consents to that or not.
Right. Right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent job.
Yep.
Great report.
No,
Good
that's
job,
great.
guys.
Thank you.
Um, any other questions, comments, concerns?
That's
Great.
it.
Moving on. Wayfinding and branding update. So it's really branding update. We are underway. We've had quite a few meetings already. We so the sorry, collecting my thoughts. We're going to be announcing very soon that there's going to be an RFP open for a designer for this project. We're going to be literally tonight. I'm going home and creating an about page and a project page for this to open up all transparency and get things up and online, and basically inform the town of we have an about page set up, an FAQ page or a Q&A page we're going to set up, and a few others about the town seal and rebranding in town. Along with that, once that's up tonight and approved, hopefully tomorrow, by the rest of the working group, we are planning on the 16th releasing a notice to the town employees saying that this project is happening. We're working on the branding and the town seal, and sort of getting them to fill out a survey of sort of their sentiment of the project and whether they agree with it or disagree with it, whether they like the current logo or dislike the current logo, and also where are they using the logo right now, as well as a few open-ended questions of gathering more of their opinion on sort of how they feel about it, right? And because we expect that there's going to be a lot of people within town and even within the staff of the town that is going to be against doing anything like this, just because it's historical or traditional and they like the logo. They've been in town for their whole life and that's what it's been for the last 100 years. So but it's also, the page is going to be about why we need to do a rebranding on this and why we've decided to do it now, and where's the money coming from and everything else. So we're trying to do everything that we've said all the other groups should be doing to make it very clear and transparent as to why we're doing all this. So,
Are you doing stuff like putting it in the Sentinel, putting it on Facebook?
and that's the
all
next
that
that's
stuff,
the next thing is after it goes to the town, they're going to have a few days to get responses back, and then it's going to be announced. Well, I think we have to provide it to the Sentinel early so that they have it for Thursday, but it should be in the Thursday, the next print about, this is what our team is planning on doing. That way the town is aware of it and people can start looking online and seeing what's happening. And I'm going to build a form at some point so that people can come in, go online and give us people from town, if they feel like they need to, they can go online and say how they feel about the project and send in some of their sentiments about the town, whether, because maybe they don't like it, but they want to make sure that this is represented in the logo, or they have this idea, or they're absolutely against this, and why are we doing this? We want to hear it all. We want to be able to find a middle ground with all of this. So we're trying to do it right. So that's going well. The biggest hurdle we're facing right now is so technically we're a working group, and that was under the understanding that a working group is different from a committee and does not need to have open meetings and reporting structures and stuff like that. We've been sort of told, well, maybe like working group, the name doesn't matter. You still are an assembly of people in town doing stuff. Therefore, you need to be transparent to the same degree as a committee does, where we have to have a chair and report on things and have full open meetings and whatnot. And this all came about because we were saying, like, well, or even though we're a working group, let's have an open meeting, right? Let's invite people. Let's put an agenda up. Let's put meeting minutes up. We might as well, because again, we don't want this to be suddenly like next year, here's the new town seal, nobody knew about it, because that's going to really ruffle feathers.
Yeah, it wasn't Chris Martin, isn't he part chair of the communication committee?
Right. Yeah.
He designed it.
I don't want to have to fix my mailbox, every day. So we're and it was like, well, actually, because we are a working group, it doesn't matter the title of what, it doesn't matter what the group is called as an organization of the town. We need to be doing that stuff anyway. And once again, we've done it so many times with this committee, and now we're doing it again with members of a working group that includes select board members, the town planner, creative economy, people who've been in the big people in town, and we're trying to figure out what are actually the rules of reporting, and do we have to? And some people are saying we absolutely do, and other people are saying, well, technically this rule by open meeting law says that we don't. So we're figuring all that out, but it might end up being that we are going to be another committee, and the town will have one more for like 9 months while this is all figured out. So that's where all of that is out.
Doesn't the town committee handbook cover this kind of stuff? I mean, if you're going to follow the rules, when you just read the
it does handbook. And it doesn't, right? Because it's like this law says that no, you always have to do this, but technically, if you follow what happened in this specific case, a judgment was passed that in this certain aspect you don't have to, and technically we fit under that. But
well, I mean, if you're going to choose to act as a committee, then act as a committee.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is if we choose to act as a committee, we go through that, but then that brings up other rules of like, is Google Docs allowed and things like that, because technically we have all these restrictions in our committee about Google Docs. All the work we've done doing so far is through Google Docs. Also, we have contractors that we've hired that are now going to have to be committee members and not just contractors.
Okay.
It's a lot of hoops. Where it's like,
it's not as
it'd be
as it sounds.
much easier that we could just like do the work.
And it sounds like a lot of the stuff we do, you're breaking new ground here.
Yes. Yeah. So we're trying to work fast and get stuff done, because it is a tight budget, tight timeline. Mm-hmm. All this stuff has to get done by a certain date, and we're ahead of schedule. We are moving quick, but now this might slow us down a good bit. So otherwise, we don't have a designer yet. We are still collecting, like I said, sentiment, ideas, things like that. So it's well underway, but we'll see. So, any questions? Anything on that?
I'm confused. Yeah. Yeah, good job.
My report is that there's nothing to report. Okay. No. Like I said, next week it'll be all released. You'll get everything, see everything, and I'll send it around to everybody to check out and voice your own opinions on it. Okay, Belchertown.org. I don't know anything to report.
Not much really. I wrote an article on the nicotine-free generation that we posted on the website to try to get ahead of the story, try to control the narrative. And we don't say that in a negative way. That's one thing I want to make sure is that, we just want to get information out there for people. It did blow up a little bit on Facebook prior to that article going out. But then I haven't seen anything new. Have you, that discussion?
No.
On it,
No, they've moved on to a new one
EDIC?
with the EDIC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys follow that, but apparently you know where the Red Rose is? Turkey Hill Road, right past, over by Planet Fitness and Farmers Tractor Supply and the Pride Station.
Yeah, I think so.
So across the street from that, there's always been like sort of this logging path that's been going up there. And somebody finally asked, like, well, what's happening up there? Apparently it's zoned for commercial and they're going to be putting in a whole bunch of stuff up there, is the rumor.
Okay.
And a lot of people who live there were like, well, wait a minute, like we're supposed to get notice that this is happening. Technically, it was zoned a while ago and nothing happened, and it's under the EDIC's control, not under the control of a business or conglomerate or anything. So, and again, this is all just what I've read and what I've heard. So there's a lot of really upset people that are suddenly finding out that like their backyard could now be a supermarket or something. I don't know.
It hasn't happened. It's just,
Nothing's happened. That's the thing.
It's just zoned to be that if it does happen.
And I guess they were doing some land clearing and some perk testing. And
They've
stuff
they've
like
they've
that.
started doing the stuff to get
Who
stuff
has
happening.
started doing
EDIC.
Oh, the
Yeah.
ADIC has started. Okay,
Yeah.
started approving the land for development. Got it.
Well, it always has been. It's been approved. They're starting to take action now.
Right.
In preliminary, and again, did you ever get a chance to talk with Steve about putting something out from EDIC?
No.
Yeah.
But I know that it came up in the select board meeting that a lot of people are upset. Why didn't we get ahead of this? Well, and it's a lot of like, well, this is old news, but it's a new happening, which seems to be a lot of what happens in the town is that like a decision is made and then 5 years, 10 years later, action is taken and now everybody's forgotten about it.
And this kind of gets back again to the Javish Brook, the electrification, the BOH thing that, if EDIC had come to us and said, we're going to be doing this, can you put something out? Yeah, sure. Again, getting ahead of the narrative.
But
So
that's not a thought most committees have.
no, it isn't.
Yeah.
They've never had to, and so Chris and I have kind of talked about it loosely, it'd be good if we could get something from EDIC to put out there just to try to tamp things down a little bit. I mean, I have another article in the wings about fire department ladder truck that I keep putting off because, Board of Health comes up and then this will come up. And it seems like there's always something to come up to put on the website. So
Actually, we should have a communication manager to handle all this.
that's a great idea. Yeah. Poor Kate. She's going to get hammered when she gets in here. That's really all I got on the website.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, let's keep moving on. We're a little over an hour now. Emergency operations and communications. This has been on here for a little while, but there hasn't been anything that's come up lately.
Well,
Is
Mark
this-
has
is
it
this
as
still
part
a
of the
thing?
plan. It's in there, and I actually, Kate and I texted on it, as to whether this might be more in her purview once she comes on board to manage that part of it or not, and things like. So it's kind of on hold till Kate gets in and we can figure out, what's going to be the best way moving forward on this. I mean, I'm glad to continue working on it. I just don't want to do something that, I just don't want to step in somebody else's shoes.
Right.
Well, let's just, I'll pull it from the agenda for now until it comes up again.
Yeah,
And then we can,
no, that's good.
we can edit it.
Hopefully no emergency pops.
No pandemics before then.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. We're at the end. Additional items for discussion. Topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Nothing has come up in my end. No emergencies came in. Unless anybody at the table or online has anything that has happened in the last 2 days.
Snowed.
Yep.
Excellent. Committee member announcements and informal topics. Anything?
The audio quality is very good from this end. I just want to share that. I could hear everybody very clearly.
Thank you. Good to hear. Everybody happy with the way things are happening? I mean, this, I guess if you're not, this is not the time you're going to announce it, but, right. Yeah. But, I just checking in with everybody, if there's anything about these meetings that you're not happy with, if they're too slow, if it's too boring, if you're not working on enough, whatever, please feel free to reach out to me. I won't be slighted or anything. I'm always trying to make these things better. If you just don't like somebody else in the committee, then that's another thing.
Okay, we'll have that discussion later.
Right? Yeah, you too. I've been on the email threads. I know about it.
Just know for the public out there, Mark and I are getting along fine.
Could we talk?
Yeah.
Could we have a little talk?
We're at the opposite ends of the spectrum, but we get along fine. We do.
But yeah, so if there's any concerns or whatever else, I just want to open up the floor again that I'm here to chat about that stuff.
We need to have some more casual meetings with folks at local places where there's something to drink.
After the holidays, we can get together again, but.
Well, hopefully after the holidays, we'll have a few more places open in town, to do this in.
Yeah.
Really?
Kanzai is supposedly coming back.
Yeah, they've been supposedly coming.
And Mexicalito.
Yeah. Now, they both have liquor licenses, I guess. Okay. Yeah. That'd be nice.
I also get together at coffee shops. Okay, excellent. That's my bit. Okay. Next meeting time. The last meeting we decided that the 19th would be would be the next best. That way it's sort of in between
not quite
holiday stuff, not quite Christmas.
Is it here or the select board room?
It would end up being here again. Okay. The select board has that room for that night.
Okay.
As well. Yes.
What are they doing? Who knows?
I don't know.
Okay. So 7 p.m. auditorium, 19th.
Is that good with everybody?
Yeah, I might run a couple minutes late, but yeah.
Okay, because I know especially December is a very holiday heavy for not just Christmas, but actually I don't know when Hanukkah is, but I know it's around this time and other holidays. So if there is, if that day isn't good for anybody, let me know. Also, it dawned on me the other day that Thursday nights, part of the reason why we were doing Thursday nights was because that was a good night for Kate. Mm-hmm. Kate's not here anymore. Well, she will be soon, but not in the same capacity. So if
might have the same schedules problem.
If this is really tough for everybody, if we want to try moving to another day, please raise your hand and we can try to figure that out. But I suggest we do that over email and not.
I'm going to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday
at the same time.
Probably, yeah. To see if that's.
And Esther.
And I guess there's a lot of people we have to check in with now. So, okay, so keep that in mind. And at not next week, the meeting on the 19th, we'll bring it up and make sure that it's good with everybody who's now going to be, because both Esther and Kate are going to be ex officio. They're going to be part of the committee, but not voting members and chair members. So they're going to be part of the committee. Little less than our role, a little more than a liaison. Yeah. So, okay. So 19th, good?
Yes.
Great.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Allegra says aye as well. Technically, we have to call you out because you're online.
I have 824.
Yep. Yes, 824. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Allegra, for joining us online.
See you later, Allegra.
For the excellent presentation.
Bye, guys. Bye, all.